Hi guys, I wanted to address the question today of what is traditional karate. Now, there's a lot of debate over the subject, and the question is usually posed by people who consider themselves to be traditional stylists in order to either separate what they do from non-traditional styles, or more likely to denigrate non-traditional styles or styles that they deem non-traditional. And it seems to me that there's as many opinions about what represents traditional as there are people who hold those opinions, and it seems very often that the definition of traditional karate is created to suit the art that the person practices. And I'll give you some examples. I'll read you out a few quotes. I just went on the internet and googled what is traditional karate, and here are extracts from a number of the quotes. The American Amateur Karate Federation says, while traditional karate required the high technical level of the finishing blow, the newer karate sports were concerned with merely common kicking and punching actions to score. There is a great difference between traditional karate and the new karate. Wikipedia says, traditional karate kata bear a strong resemblance to the forms found in Fujian martial arts such as Fujian White Crane, Five Ancestors, and Gangru Kwan Hard Soft Fist, pronounced Gojuken in Japanese. Forgive me for my pronunciation. I'm not claiming to be a Japanese speaker. Ian Abernathy says, the dictionary definition of traditional is adhering to a long established procedure. If the karate of today is based upon a long established procedure and is hence traditional, we should find that the art is the same today as it was when the first records, texts and kata were made. Wakefield Traditional Karate Association asks, why is the traditional approach different, and why is it worth preserving? To us at the WTKA, it is because it conserves the ethical and philosophical ideas of Budo, while preserving the physiological discoveries and combat theories of a particular human culture. That is, that the answer is both philosophical and physical. Washinkai Karate says, of the difference between traditional and sport karate, there is a fundamental difference between karate practiced as sport and traditional karate. Sport karate is ultimately practiced to win competitions. The aim of traditional karate is, however, a much more subtle one, and ultimately focuses on personal development as a goal. It is the disciplining of the mind and body that results in this personal development, giving the experienced and committed practitioner control at will over his thoughts and deeds. At the same time, his understanding of his body, his thought and how both of these relate to the people and world around him improves, and with that his discretion and judgment. The accomplished karateka will thus be strong in mind and body, but his strength is tempered by a new understanding, enabling him to use this strength and wisdom. Clear Lake Shotokan says, traditional karate is not just about bowing, answering yes sir, breaking boards and performing acrobatic kicks. Traditional karate is a weaponless self-defense system, which requires performing effective techniques, or what is called single finishing blow. But more important, to be humble, predisposed to learn, and to engage on a never-ending career of seeking the perfection of character. Now, I would suggest that those definitions are wildly different from each other. Ian Abernathy seems to think that traditional karate has groundwork, it has pressure point strikes, he's talking about the techniques, whilst Wakefield is talking about ethics and philosophy, and Washinkai is talking about the goal of disciplining mind and body. So they're quite different descriptions, and if you ask other people, I heard quite recently a definition which talked about the lineage of the karate, who taught who and how that got to you. And it's quite clear that there is no universal consensus for what represents traditional karate. Now, there is definitely, or has been at least, I think it still exists, a certain well, shall we say, to be kind, a certain nationalistic pride in karate in Japan. Well, nationalistic pride generally, in fact, and many people feel that if your karate club has not got some lineage which goes through the big four, which is Wadaru, Shotokan, Goju-ryu and Shitoryu or Shitoru. If it doesn't have a lineage through one of those four, then it's not traditional. And that just kind of plays into the belief that what's important is who taught you, not what they taught you. For example, had you learned under Funakoshi one-on-one in the early days before he systematised things for schools, you would have learned a very, very different type of karate to what you learned once he started teaching university students. Yet, because he was the founder of Shotokan, you were learning traditional karate. Yet the methodology for transmitting knowledge was completely different. Likewise, and for me, I think that the definition of traditional is not defined by your membership of an organisation. The Dai Nippon Butokukai, which is the martial arts organisation in Japan, which was founded at the end of the 1800s to kind of I guess to systematise the traditional martial arts of Japan and to create, if not a syllabus, well, certainly a recognised framework within which the arts could be judged. It's become the arbiter, I guess, for traditional karate. But personally, I think that it is to karate what the Catholic Church is to Christianity. Now, I'm not a Christian, but the fact is that Christianity was about following the teachings of Jesus. It's not about the organisational structure of the Catholic Church. Yet, as the biggest Christian group on the planet, they very much define the bounds of Christianity for many people. And likewise, the Dai Nippon Butokukai may be a good thing, may not. In my opinion, organisations and federations are rarely a good thing. I mean, you only have to look at the detrimental influence of the WKF, the World Karate Federation, on the chance of karate becoming an Olympic event, and whether or not you think it should be a sport event is another issue. But the point is that there are egos there and a federation, and it wasn't really serving the best interests of the practitioners, because had it been doing that, then it would probably be an Olympic event, or they would have said never, 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 depending on your point of view. And likewise, I think that the Dai Nippon Butokukai may serve the marketing interests of karate, but it doesn't necessarily serve the interests of karate as an art. So merely because you can point to a lineage certainly doesn't mean that your karate is traditional. Likewise, if you want to talk about grades as a sign of tradition, is your style non-traditional if your master is 5th Dan? Is your style non-traditional if your founder is 2nd Dan only? Everything had to start from somewhere, and many of the great masters, in inverted commas, never had a recognised grade. They just declared themselves a 10th Dan or a 5th Dan or whatever, and that was their grade. And really, I think, to a certain extent, that a grade is a marketing tool again, or at least an administrative tool, so that one can say, well, I'm the master, so therefore I must be a black belt, which was the philosophy that some masters had, and because I'm the highest in this style, well, then I should be a 10th Dan, or I should be an 8th Dan, or a 5th Dan, or whatever. But really, it's meaningless, because if you're the first person in an art, then you are whatever grade you choose to make yourself, 100th Dan, or 0 Dan, or whatever. It really doesn't matter. So long as the students know that you are the sensei and they are the students, that's really all that matters. So then you go back. Really, I think that if you say, well, lineage really is not the vital point, and the grade of the instructor is not the vital point, Okay, some people have criticised, the fact that some styles have instructor belts, and at my style particularly, GKR has an instructor belt as well as a black belt. Well, a lot of the original masters just put on a black belt. They were nothing before that, and they didn't consider themselves to be a Dan. They just put on a black belt to distinguish themselves from their students. So what is that if not if not the separation of grade from belt colour? Again, so that's a kind of nonsensical argument, really. I appreciate, however, that if the belt is used to disguise somebody's grade, so it's inappropriate for them to teach, then that's a totally different argument, and I fully agree with anyone who would make that argument. So then you come down. I guess there are a few more avenues. Is a style traditional if it follows traditional methodology? And what do we mean by methodology? Well, we could talk about the training methodology. We could talk about the syllabus. Those two things can be completely different. You look at a Wado-ryu syllabus and compare it to, say, a Shotokan syllabus or a Goju-ryu syllabus. They're very, very different. Wado-ryu has different techniques. Wado-ryu uses a different fighting philosophy. And if you were to compare, say, Goju and Shotokan, there's never any doubt which style you're in, because they're tactically wildly different from each other for the most part, and also tend to suit different functions and different dispositions as well, and different physiques, different physiologies. I have heard it said that the Nahate styles, of which Goju is I guess the original of the Nahate styles, that is to say the styles which founded from the Naha district of Okinawa, were tended to suit people who were physically stronger and more robust, whilst the Shurite styles, that's the styles which came from the Shuri district, which was basically the area that surrounded Shuri, which is where the castle of Okinawa was, up on the hill, had a different philosophy and perhaps was slighter, and so speed and the principle of Ikin Hisatsu, one hit, one kill, was much more important to them, because they didn't have physical strength, and historically there were lots of issues for those people in the unarmed protection of the monarchy of the time. Even you could call it a figurehead monarchy, but nevertheless they had to be able to protect the king, at least at some stages in their history, without weapons. So you could see where the principle of Ikin Hisatsu was very important to those people. But to compare the syllabus of two different styles, and by I guess not just the syllabus nowadays tends to mean what techniques, what kata, that kind of thing, but I also mean the jutsu, all of the techniques that comprise a style. To compare those, they're wildly different, yet both considered to be traditional. So again, I don't think that you can say that. And perhaps you might talk about the application of the syllabus rather than the actual techniques. So are the techniques designed to be deadly effective, one hit, one kill? Are you designed to have conditioning and strong knuckles and to be able to drop people? One of the arguments made earlier against sport karate was that they don't go for this one hit, one kill mentality. But anybody who does sports karate would know that you very much are looking to get in and get hit, to score a killer hit without getting hit. And if that's not the very essence of real karate, then I don't know what is. The fact that they don't actually drop people to the floor and kill them is neither here nor there. That they are capable, that's just not their goal. So if it's not the syllabus, then perhaps it's the training methodology. How do we train? But perhaps Makiwara boards, lots of repetition, standing in lines or not standing in lines, using kata as a learning tool. But again, there are lots of different methodologies. Admittedly, kata are a consistent underpinning for most traditional styles, and I think that Ian Abernathy referred to the kata or their techniques as the DNA of karate. Now, I think that's probably an overstatement. I suspect that the DNA is the jutsu, and then the karate is more like the cells and the organs. The kata. I'm sorry, I'm misspeaking. So if the DNA are the elementary particles of the karate, then surely the elementary particles must be the techniques that comprise the at its most basic level, and then what you do with those techniques in kata or in kihon or in line drills or however you choose to practice must surely be something more than the DNA. What you construct with the DNA, but there are many styles, including mine, which is its detractors argue is not traditional. Yet we have a traditional methodology. We practice conditioning, we practice kihon, we practice repetition, we practice lots of repetition. We have a syllabus of basic jutsu. We use traditional kata. Ian Abernathy says that that you're using atemi waza and groundwork and this, that, and the other, and all of those things are contained within kata anyway. Well, probably not so much groundwork, but all of the other things. Joint strikes and one hit, one kill, and pressure points and all of that kind of stuff. So from that point of view, certainly my style meets the criteria of traditional karate, and I'm sure that many others which have been poo-pooed as non-traditional also meet that criteria. So okay, then that's not the criteria either, because lots of non-traditional styles train with a traditional methodology. So perhaps what defines a traditional club is the spiritual and I guess what the non-physical side, if you like. It's not just spiritual, but the improvement of the character, that kind of thing. The virtues that you practice, the etiquette that you show towards people, and I could probably point to many traditionalists who certainly do not embody that etiquette or that spirituality in their own training. They think because they train hard that somehow means that they've met they tick the spirituality box because they train hard and perhaps they've had transcendent moments in their training. But it's more than that. It's about the way that you treat people. The funny thing is that so many people who get really uppity about non-traditional styles are themselves, they're so arrogant and rude, which definitely was not a part of what traditional karate do, the way of karate, not just karate jutsu, the techniques, not what traditional karate do embodied. That Funakoshi, for all of his possible failings, was one of the most humble martial artists that I've ever read about, and I deeply respect that about him. That he felt he had a deep sense of humility about himself, and he didn't want to hurt people. For as good as he was, that he wanted it to be something that he didn't use against people. I guess a person that I used to know used to talk about betterment of the spirit by suppressing the ego. Now, to be honest, I have never seen so many out of control egos, so many arrogant, so many deeply unpleasant people as I have since I've been practicing karate, and I'm afraid that I've met a couple in my style, but the number of them that I see amongst the detractors, the loudmouths, is really shocking, and it just seems to be so un-karate. For these people to have the arrogance to tell other people what they're doing or what they're not doing is traditional, and then to be so unpleasant, so uncharitable in their personality. I think that ultimately what it shows is that you can't really point your finger and say that something's traditional. I think that a training methodology certainly goes towards it, but the thing is that karate has been in flux forever. Wikipedia talked about kata which were traditional, and the kata followed a path from China. So in that sense, you know, it illustrates that karate has always been in flux. You know, you can show how it rapidly changed over Funakoshi's life. You can show how it evolved continuously for the 300 or 400 years before that, when it was kind of becoming formed from what came from China before. And even what was in China has been in constant evolution, and if that were not the case, there wouldn't be so many different forms, you know. And likewise, you know, even with traditional styles, you know, a lot of people talk about the big four, but surely if there was just one definition of traditional karate, there wouldn't be four competing philosophical styles, four competing styles of karate. So I guess basically that what I'm saying is you are welcome to your own definition of traditional karate if that makes you feel good, but the fact is that your definition is no more valid than anybody else's, and whilst you may eschew things like sport karate or commercial karate which charges for its services, these don't necessarily make a karate style less traditional. You know, I guess you could say, well, karate was not done for sport way back, although certainly dojo challenges, which you could consider an equivalent of a testing your karate out, I suppose. Dojo challenges have certainly been part of the karate ethos for a long time, you know, way back when it was traditional, and even before it became karate. So there's always been a desire to test oneself out. Yeah, you know, look, I don't know what traditional karate is. I know what I think it is. You know, as I say, I think it's a combination of all of those things, but it's not necessarily any of them. You know, it could be something different. It has a flavour of each of those things. It's the methodology, it's the techniques, it's the history, it's the lineage. But no one of those things, if absent, you can't say, well, that's not traditional because it doesn't have that. You know, if your master doesn't have a direct lineage down through Funakoshi or Tosu or whoever, that doesn't mean he's not traditional. He may be teaching exactly the same techniques as them gained from somewhere else, you know. I would just really encourage people to be a little bit more flexible in their thinking, because I don't think it serves anybody well to ring fence a definition of traditional and say, if you don't meet this, then you're something less, which is the way that is sadly all too often used. Anyway, you take care, and thanks for listening. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please take the time to rate and comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe. Thank you.